begin our conversation, let me first of all introduce the distinguished Senator Sadiq Umar. He represents Kwara North Senatorial District and is the Chairman Senate Committee on Rules and Business, as well as Vice Chairman Senate Committee on Primary Healthcare and Communicable Diseases. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you for having me.
And from our Kaduna studio, we are being joined by Professor Kabir Matu, a political scientist. It's a pleasure, sir, to have you this morning with us on Good Morning Nigeria.
60,000.
All right. Also with us for today's conversation is Bia. Bia is joining us via Zoom as Executive Director, Other Paper Nigeria, which of course covers the National Assembly. We're glad to have you this morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Okay, so let's begin with distinguished Senator Sadiq Umar. And first, would like to congratulate you. We understand that you won your bid to return to the Senate at the 10th National Assembly, and that you already collected your certificate of return. So congratulations.
Thank you.
But of course, as it were, the Senate, of which I am currently a member, still has about 3 months to go. But it appears that the color of the 10th Assembly is already beginning to show itself. What emotions does this trigger in you?
Thank you, sir. It's a mixed feeling, really, because, these are people you've sat with in the last 3 years plus, and now most of them are not coming back. You have to stay with new persons. But we just always keep on looking forward. And for me, I think that the 10th Senate will look forward to being better than the 9th Senate, regardless of what we've lost, because as you know, the legislature is driven by experience everywhere in the world. Getting experienced legislatures out of the National Assembly is not good for our democracy. It's not good for the system. Unfortunately, the people are in charge. They decide what they want to do. Whatever they do, you have no option. And from experience in 1999, this has been the situation. You don't return at best. I doubt whether we've done 50% before. What we are seeing now is less than 30% that are coming back. All the persons that have worked very hard in various committees, all those experiences, institutional memories will all disappear. And you have to start all over again with a lot of other persons. For me, as somebody who ran the rules and business, I know how challenging it's been for every newcomer, trying to understand how Senate works, trying to cope. Now again, you're going to be starting with a whole set of new persons. It's even worse at the committee level, because the Congress or the Parliament is driven by committees. That is where you require experienced persons to really give proper oversight to the executive. That's where you expect even government policies to be properly agreed in the interest of the society. Now, where you don't have experienced persons who have done this over and over again to be there, it's going to be a big loss to our democracy. So I have mixed feelings. I look forward to working with new persons coming, but we are going to lose a lot of old colleagues, especially the experienced ones that have added value to the Senate. Well spoken, mixed feelings. That's interesting. We'll come back to you as we make progress. Now let's return to distinguished Senator Umar here. Of course, he raised some pertinent points, with respect to the 9th Assembly and what has characterized this arm of government, since 1999. He raised the National Assembly exists only for itself, because Nigerians have experienced a situation where budgeting, the National Assembly always have additional budget, while reductions are made in other sectors of our national life. And just like you said, public perception of National Assembly That's number one. We're also talking about female representation, which has dropped drastically this time around, as against what we had in the Ninth Assembly, which is now coming to the end of its tenure. Now, looking into the future of the 10th Assembly, which you pointed out is going to have many members who are new, in politics, especially in effective representation on the national level. All right. So, when you have been in the, you have been, or you are still the Senate Committee Chair on Rules and Business, that means you are in the core of administration of the National Assembly in terms of understanding and what role your committee, has played in sustaining, the structure of what administration of the National Assembly. So, what are you going to see? What kind of tutelage would the new persons be made to face to ensure that they key into the fabric of House rules and regulations?
Yeah, thank you very much. First, let me say that it's sad that we've lost so many females coming back to the Senate, but we are proud in the Ninth Senate that out of our females, one of them is going to the villa to be the First Lady of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Another one is going to Government House to be the first female governor of Adamawa State by the grace of God. So that's good news for us in the Ninth Senate. Yeah, it's bad enough that only 3 females are coming back to the Senate. This did not affect only the female, like we said, it affected everybody. Now, the question I will always ask is, at 20-something%, that's woeful failure. That's beyond F9, really. But the question is, who failed? Those of us in the National Assembly, Nigerian citizens that refuse to vote and return them back, or democracy? In my humble opinion, I think it's everything.
All the political parties that failed to feed them.
Yes, everybody failed. But in my opinion, too, it is the journey to developing democracy. Democracy is a long process. As regards what my colleague said about National Assembly serving itself, not serving the people, I'm happy he said the perception. And you know what perception means? It is a very wrong perception. I am in the Senate, and I know what goes on at the center of the core. How do people mean when they say, for example, when budget comes, we cut, we increase? Increase to what? Do we increase budget to ourselves? No, we increase budget for our people. And the question will be, what's our role? What's the meaning of appropriation? What's the meaning of appropriation? What we do in Nigeria is far, far less from what happens in other democracies. We have the powers to adjust the budget as we deem fit to serve the nation. This pardon you hear, all adjustment you hear, is in the interest of trying to balance our projects in the country. In fact, without the National Assembly, you'll be shocked to know that there will be communities and local governments that will not benefit 1 kobo in the whole national budget. It is only through constituency projects and the adjustments we do to try to balance out that allows disadvantaged local government and communities to have basic things like borehole, to have drinkable water, to have basic primary care centers, to have little things that, they've been forgotten about in this country. So when people say National Assembly serves itself, it's because they don't know. But I do know something. The real people, citizens in the rural communities, they understand this and they appreciate this.
Let me ask you this before you continue. It's also said that we duplicate positions of authority, in terms of what you are supposed to do for your people. Because at the state level, we have a House of Assembly in the states. The communities you are talking about are under local governments, which are also under state governments. And these are state governments that also make budget for provision of social amenities in the same communities that you at the federal level are representing. So what happens? What is the role of a House of Assembly rep who perhaps in your area where you represent, you have a House of Assembly member also representing your communities there. So it's not kind of a duplication. If at the national level, you are talking about how to bring borehole from national level to a community in the village when he has a rep and a governor and chairman of local government. So how do you explain that?
Exactly. So, you see, that's the misconception again. Through the Houses of Assembly, of course, for them, they basically don't have anything like constituency project that the National Assembly has been able to institutionalize at federal government level. Yes, the state government and the local government have responsibility of those basic things. But we all know what's the situation. The local government system has collapsed. You can try to blame who you want to blame, but I tell you something, that the ordinary man in that community does not give a damn about whether federal, state government, local government, you just want to drink water. And where the local government is not able to provide it, oh yes, responsible state governors have been provided, but it's never enough. There's nothing wrong in those of our federal level to take the opportunity to help our people. That's what we do. And that's those who are there understand and appreciate. I mean, those who don't understand will question this, which is all right. But until we are able to fix the system fully, before we can say, well, let's make sure we limit this to this and don't forget, of course, there are concurrent lists to that we all have capacity to intervene in. Now, generally speaking, it's sad that as somebody who has been in the center of the activity in the Senate and indeed the National Assembly, people think that the Senate is a rubber stamp. I've said this repeatedly. What is the meaning of a rubber stamp? What do you expect the legislature? Why do you think my people send me to the National Assembly? To come and be backing on the president? To come and be blocking all president's requests? No. They sent me here to come and make laws for good governance. And to them, good governance means nothing other than things working for them. They want to see a good healthcare system. They want to see a good educational system. They want to have water to drink. That's all they care about. So for us in the Ninth Senate, from the experiences of especially the Eighth Senate, where there's rancor between the legislature and the executive, the people suffered. And for us, we are interested in correcting that. And all we did was to say, we are going to work harmoniously with the executive. And to do that, we'll cooperate with them. Any good thing they bring in the interest of the people, we'll pass it as fast as we can in the interest of our people. However, it does not mean that when they bring things that are not okay with us, we must always pass. No, we don't. There are some instances that we object outright on the floor. There are other instances that our leadership tries to engage the executive to say, this will not pass and we do not want any rancor. We do not want any embarrassment. Can you please adjust? Those things are done behind the scenes in the interest of the country. So we are not rubber stamp, we are just productive, efficient night assembly, and it worked. Go and ask the citizens, they will tell you the projects done by this 10th night assembly has never been seen before in the history of Nigeria.
We're also citizens,
So maybe you need to go back to your community. Senator Sadiq Umar, thank you very much for your explanations. Just before I bring in Professor Kabir Mato, there's one point that Kirian raised and to which you responded. You were talking about constituency projects. We'll put that on the one side because there are issues also with the level of execution and the quality of execution of those constituency projects. ICPC has been running rings around those who abandoned some of those constituency projects. But in terms of saying that without the intervention of the National Assembly in the course of appropriation, certain communities might never have seen any presence of the federal government. Some persons have complained, take roads for instance, that it is one of the reasons why arterial roads in this country continue to suffer from poor budgetary allocation. So you say arterial roads. Everybody will say, for instance, Benin, Auchi, Okene, Lokoja, Abuja, Kaduna, Kano, Zaria, Kano. Those are major arterial roads. You go to the southeast, you know your major arterial roads. When you fix those arterial roads, they are able to, of course, then be a catalyst for economic activities. But somebody will say, no, there's some road in some local community that is, we don't have a federal presence there. It's a federal road because it links up to states. Take from this major arterial road, put it there, and in the end, the major arterial roads that ordinarily should truncate roads that should get priority attention don't get the priority attention that they deserve. And after a while, of course, the level of deterioration increases and everybody gets to be complaining. I don't want you to respond just here to that, distinguished senator. So you can escrow the question, and then when we come back, you may wish to respond to that. But Senator Sadiq Umar, the National Assembly, in particular the Senate, after the Banana Peels era, from 1999 to around about 2003 and thereabouts, the National Assembly, again in particular the Senate, since the 6th Senate, appears to have had some stable leadership. David Mark was Senate President for a pretty long while, and the incumbent Senate President, of course, is going to be in office hopefully for 4 years. But there were issues with the leadership of the 8th Assembly. That's the way the leadership emerged. What, in your opinion, are those critical factors that usually will determine the choice of presiding officers to provide guidance, to provide leadership, to provide stability to the legislature, and in particular the upper chamber?
Yeah, thank you, sir. So before I answer that quickly, I want to brush over some of the issues we've addressed before, because Nigerians need to understand. For example, you spoke about those key roles that federal government should be facing, which, members of National Assembly will say, oh no, I also have a federal road here, put money there. Look, as members of the National Assembly, we have two key ways we operate. One, you see yourself as a citizen and as a leader who should do whatever you need to do to make sure Nigeria progresses. So those roads are our priority. We want major highways connected in this country. However, beyond that road, you are also voted and sent to the National Assembly by your constituents to go and protect their interests. So, Siri, please, by the time you leave NTA...
You don't call him a Siri. My name is Kingsley.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
My apology once again.
That's fine. I think it's the hangover of the election.
Yeah, I think so.
That's it.
By the time you retire and your people graciously say, make the Senate your retirement when you come in, if you choose to say, no, it is the highway, national things you are interested in alone, and you forget their own interest, you hear for them in the next election. They will send a strong message to you. So that's the reality. Your job as a National Assembly member is to work for Nigeria, the bigger picture, like you said, but you also have to be looking at the interests of your people and pushing it. However, we need to develop as a country, so we must not joke with those key projects. Therefore, it's equally the responsibility of the executive. Where there's an anomaly or a gap, they must put their eye on that, and they can bring supplementary. And we've done that even in this budget to say these are national projects that are very important. Please fund it for, and we always do that graciously. I still don't like the idea of people thinking that National Assembly is overfunded. Like my friend said, we are underfunded. He didn't tell you that we have less than 1% of the national budget, even as a third arm of government. 1%. All the noise you hear is 1%. If you know what is the real salary component of a senator, it can be different from what the Revenue Mobilization approved. Our salary structure is not different from every other ministerial agency. The noise you hear is probably, allowances. What is allowances? There's not any allowances. It's probably like a minister or a DG, he has a recurring expenditure to run his office. Nobody talks about that in this country. And that amount is triple what is that of a senator.
What people want to know is at the end of the month, what goes into your pocket. Some say it's 14 million a month. Well, I know that if you explain that, it could be reasonable. So
it's almost nothing.
But as a Nigerian, someone will say, how can somebody, one person take this sum of money on a monthly basis? Because you have perhaps, your staff, who run your operations and what have you, who are not permanent employees of the National Assembly in the first instance. And as soon as you leave office, they lose their job.
Absolutely. So you have to take care of all of that from all of that. Anyway, the long and short of it is that it is said, when you look at it globally, what members of National Assembly, like the senators of the Federal of the United States of America, if you know what goes into their budget for a single senator to make him operate, it will shock you, but that's not what we are discussing. Let's leave it at that. One day, Nigerians will appreciate. What shocks me most is that National Assembly, we represent the people, we are the closest to the people, we are the one they disturb, we are the one that solves their problem, and we are the one that is most attacked again. But again, it's been shown, globally speaking, the Parliament, the Congress is always a victim of the society. There's nothing you can do about that. We have accepted it, but we know why we have to do what we have to do in the interest of our people, because they are our bosses. They sent us there. Now, coming to answer about stability. Look, the 9th Assembly is as stable as I think the 7th and 6th. It has to do with the quality of leadership. It has to do with experience. It has to do with collaboration with even the executive to make sure we work in the interest of the country. And I think that is very important in selecting leadership. You have to look at who will stabilize the National Assembly, so that instead of those banana peel, you remove it and put proper rock that everywhere will be stable. We've done that. Look, honestly, it's worrisome that everybody talk about now assembly rubber stamp. People forget the big things we did, which are our own priorities, and that's what we worry about. And we know that history will judge us right. We said we want to stabilize the budgetary cycle from January to December, as is done all over the world, so that every businessman can see what the country is doing. We have done that. So I think we've done the last one. We scored 100%. We didn't even blink. Not well. Two, the petroleum industry has been a problem. We were able to solve it. People will not see the benefit now because they will not understand, but time will tell. We have done finance bills. Look, during COVID crisis, there has been so much that this National Assembly rose up to that. If we did not, the story would have been different. Nobody talks about all of this, which is fine. As representatives, we understand democracy is a process. It's not an event. People will resist, they will react, they will agree, but with time, they will get to understand it. And for governors, look, constitutionally is their right. The only person that can stop that is their constitution. And they will stop a lot of them. Yes. So that's the big deal about it. They just make less. Yeah. Oh my, thank you. You know, when you talk about what you earn and all of that, you some of your members, so some level of flamboyance. You know, in some states, you see some National Assembly members with convoy, with exquisite cars and SUVs. That's I don't know. When they see such things, they begin to wonder where the money is coming from. And not only that, you see them raising some, skyscrapers, here and there, building hotels and stuff like that. It's just like they're seeing these things. It's not as if it's happening in the moon, right? So this man must be making money. That is why everybody wants to be at National Assembly. He's building this, he's building that. He has about many SUVs, some go on Range Rover, the big time cars we're talking about, sir. And they're brand new. It's not just Tokumbo as you may have it. That's why people are beginning to have that perception that OKIP has been talking about. That's less than 10% of the National Assembly. Not everybody. And there are a lot of celebrities, unknown persons that are building skyscrapers. These are driving wonders. These are more. These are persons who are making money based on their talent and their gifts, especially like footballers and the entertainers. So let's keep it at that and take a short break. When we come back, the competition will continue. All right, so we can actually continue. Okay, for him, all right, you will be leaving any moment from now, Kingsley.
That's right. We'll have to thank distinguished Senator Sadiq Umar. Of course, he has an urgent appointment to keep at this time. He represents Kwara North Senatorial District and is chairman of the Senate Committee on Rules and Business. Of course, he's just won his re-election. So we'll be seeing more of you in the 10th Senate. Once again, congratulations and thank you very much always for your candor. And I'm sure that in the ensuing weeks, the hangover of the 2023 February 25th elections will begin to wear off. Thank you very much for being our guest this morning.
Thank you, Kingsley.
All right. You're watching Good Morning Nigeria on NTS Network.